This is the Town of Acton Selectmen meeting for April 29th, 2010. First order of business, salute to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as written.
Do we want to remove Article 2? Is that what you decided to do?
Well, we can just say it when the time comes.
We remove what?
We had discussed removing item 2.
You want to move it and not talk about it?
Well, we want to talk about the revale anyway, right?
No, we're not.
That's a separate article.
Recommendations if you want.
Okay.
Second, with the removal of item 2.
Are you going to remove it or are you just
Remove
going
it.
to strike it? I thought you were going to talk about it. No?
Yeah, no, we don't have to.
All right, you're going to strike it too.
No, I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Can't hear now.
Approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the last meeting as written.
I can't second this, I was not here.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Signing of the warrants. Okay, under old business, cable committee report.
We got the annual report from Metrocast, so these figures were as of December 31st, and we had a 19% increase in subscribers, which was 191, bringing it to a total of 985 subscribers in Acton. So that's a pretty significant increase, and this was as of December 31st of last year, so it'll be interesting to see what it does this year. We had had conversation with, they had a rate increase, whether people were going to switch over to satellite, but it appears that that's not the case, which is good. Tonight is the first night that we are trying out some new equipment. The thing next to the camera, and then there's another one in the corner over by the studio, and that gives us the ability to cablecast live. It is not live tonight, but it is definitely a big step in the right direction to get us there. If this is like a test run, and then if this works, then the SELECTMEN'S meetings will be able to air live, and then they will be repeated because they'll be recorded at the same time. So that's good news. I think if anybody looks at the website, we're completely up and running now. Every week we're adding, the previous week's video of the SELECTMEN'S meeting with the minutes, and that seems to be working pretty well. Jennifer hasn't had any complaints yet, so I think that that's working out. Ted is still looking into some alternative file extension types that would be smaller in size, but not too poor quality to do anybody any good. The other thing was that I did get a message from Michaud that he wanted to do a commercial for Channel 26 for the upcoming school vote. And I talked to Superintendent Hadley tonight just about, the policies of, we can do an informative commercial. It's similar to when the comp plan people wanted to do put information on this channel that was against the comp plan, that, you can't show one side or the other. So Mr. Hadley's aware of that, and definitely he'll keep an eye on that coming up through. And then once we get the final product, if we do in fact get a final product, because it may not happen, then we'll check it from there. That's it, I think.
Are there going to be any of the other board meetings that are able to be viewed on the website, or is it just the selectmen's meetings?
Currently, it's just selectmen's meetings. We are only able to film warrant and finance, road committee, and selectmen's meetings right now. We could put them on the website, but it's a space issue, and that's why Ted's looking at the alternative file extensions for a smaller file type, because if we could cut the size down, then we could offer it for more of the committees.
Okay. Great.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, we're going to be going into an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion under Title 36, 841A.
I make a motion we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, see you right back.
Pursuant to Title 36, 841A. Are we ready to go?
Ready.
Okay.
Make a motion to exit executive session pursuant to Title 36, 841A.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. In this executive session by Title 36, 841A, we have issued and agreed on a poverty abatement for $3,382.38. So that's
Put
that.
them out there.
Right here, Maureen, you can have that there.
Okay.
Okay, we've eliminated number 2. Number 3 is about the school budget date for the upcoming election. School budget date for the upcoming election. Basically, we are looking to have the referendum part of it in the same day as the town election on, what is the date,
June 8th.
June 8th.
June 8th. And that's the referendum, right?
Yep.
And pretty much the other part of it can be done at almost any time they want to do it, but it'll save us money, not having to do an additional election. Do we have any thoughts?
The only thoughts that I have are that, yes, we as the select board, I agree, do have the authority to set the date. That we have announced a letter from the MMA saying that that is our right, as it is the selectmen's warrant. We do have the ability to decide when it goes forward. The only concern I have is that if it goes forward on June 8th and it were to fail, that is putting us at risk of not having a school budget in place by July 1st. And that is complicated. So that is my only concern with putting it off. I think we can argue that perhaps with education and constant conversation, the school budget will have a better chance of passing through on the second vote, but it does feel a little risky. But I also can recognize that $1,500 each time we have a referendum is expensive, and that we don't have it budgeted for to have this happen repeatedly. But like I said, the concern of going into July 1st with no budget is large.
Well, as I stated to Ted last week or the week before, we had a conversation, that I felt that from a financial point of view, that it would be the best interest of the town to do it all at the same time.
Ted Kryzak. My concern is, and I was worried about this, so I called MMA today. With the way the process goes, you have to open a town meeting to do this like we did last month, and then you close the town meeting after the vote. So I was concerned if we did that, then you open your town meeting for the annual town meeting, you would have 2 town meetings open at the same time. The attorney, I'm sorry I didn't get her name, I was outside working when she called me back, told me that it is legal, you can do that, but she said, why would you? Her reason against it was the school consolidation vote, or the referendum vote, is done completely different than the state and municipal elections. You have different voting rules as far as when absentee ballots can go out, how the ballots are counted and everything else. So she said it would create a nightmare for the town clerk. So she suggested against it and said that she would be more than willing to explain that to the selectmen if they would like to call.
Jennifer did mention that because of the school consolidation law, the absentee ballots are not available until 7 days prior to the referendum, as opposed to for the municipal and state elections, they are available, I believe, 30 days prior. So that is something else to be considered, just in part of the full dialogue. But anyway.
Did she say it was going to be a problem?
I did not ask her.
You didn't ask her?
I tend to think Jen is able to handle anything, which may or not be right.
She spoke to me yesterday about printing off the envelopes and different things like that, and she's in contact with the state quite how to differentiate between the school vote and the municipal and state vote for absentee ballots, but it is workable.
Mary Stanton. I was a little taken aback when the Warrant and Finance didn't meet with us tonight, and I guess it was a very last-minute thing because I was up there at 6 o'clock. And what we would have told them is that our budget will be 0.1 in the negative, so it's a decrease, and it's a decrease of $74,311. So we did go back and work on it. We were able to bring the warrant up to a vote yesterday, and so we were all set to go, and there's really no reason to go against the school committee. I mean, it's like a slap in the face. That's what it is.
Well, I don't think it's going against anybody. We're just doing our job on keeping, saving some money. My whole goal is to hope that this school budget passes the second time around. I really hope it does. I guess the school committee is thinking that it might not pass the second time around, and I hope it does, and that would solve the whole thing. Mr. Michaud.
Yes, Richard Michaud. My question is, where would you get your numbers? If we don't have a budget placed by July 1st, where would you get your numbers to go to commitment with?
As far as I understand, it goes back to the year before's budget until it passes, and then the vote is continuous.
Correct.
But again, I hope it passes. We're trying to make this pass. It's simply a measure of saving us a little bit of money.
Well, that's the point I'm getting at. If we don't pass the budget by July 1st, if we do it by the time schedule that the board has laid out, we would have a third chance, if it doesn't pass, to get it done before July 1st. If we wait until June, we wouldn't have that opportunity. But we're going through the referendum ballot specifically because the consolidation law requires us to do so. But it also says that if we don't have that budget put together by the beginning of the fiscal year, we go back to the last approved budget, and that's what we use, which is actually slightly higher than the budget we're putting forth now.
True.
I don't think the budget will be voted down this time, because if it is and then we go back to the old budget, it would actually be more than we're asking for this year. So it would be my hope that the townspeople would vote for the budget that we've submitted, because we have cut to bare bones. My other concern is a majority of voters in Acton just voted to keep the referendum for 3 more years, which means they want to keep it separate from the town meetings. And by having this part of the town meeting system, you're going against what they just voted on. I would have been really happy to see them vote this referendum down and go back to the town meeting system, save the money that you're talking about, but that's not what the voters of Acton have asked you to do.
Well, I'm sorry, Ted, I guess I'm not clear.
Well, you're bringing it, instead of keeping it separate and paying for the referendum meetings, you're trying to tie it into the town meeting in order to save money. And by doing that, as I said before, you're causing problems for the town clerk and the people that count the ballots and everything else. And that can be fixed, and it can be done, but there's no need for it. But as you know, when the town voted the referendum in, they didn't want it to be part of the town vote. And by doing this on the same day, you have that whole other election involved. And she said we could actually go back to having the town meeting for the school board with the town meeting if we switched it around from what we're doing now. Instead of having the town meeting after the vote, if we had the town meeting before the vote, we could do the school committee meeting and the town meeting, and then have the vote afterwards, and then you could save lots of money.
Well, it's kind of like few years back when we changed our election dates to match up with the state referendums.
Right.
You know, we mixed them together.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't really see this one as any different.
Okay.
You know, and the point you're making is it stays as a referendum vote. The point is the town wants a referendum vote. It's still a referendum vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the same time, the school town meeting is still separate, still being voted on by referendum.
Well, the actual town meeting is, yes, but
Yeah.
the vote,
They're
the votes,
in the
all the voting that day.
they're in
The
the same
referendum
way.
is, the school budget is supposed to have the town meeting and then be voted on separately. I mean, it's okay to tie it into the other vote. She said it's perfectly legal, but I have a concern that you're going against what the people voted for, and I may be wrong. But my feeling is if they voted for the referendum, then they want it to be done the way we did it in April and not tied in with the town meeting. Thank you.
Judie Shain, Acton School Committee. I think when you look at the big picture of everything that we're looking at in regard to the possibility that it might not pass the second time and that we might not have a budget by July 1st, while that isn't a really big deal for the school system because they'll keep on going, it could get to be a big deal when you get ready to try to go to commitment and not have a school budget in place. The other thing is, I think we need to look at is that you're talking about you want to save money. This is not a large amount of money for the town, and I'm sure it's in the budget, in the town clerk's budget, and it's not a large amount of money. If you were talking like $5,000 or $10,000, but you're talking, you know, less than $2,000, and it's probably going to be more costly if you try to put the two of them together because the ballot clerks are going to be, you know, camping out here overnight.
Al Hodgson. I believe that it's going to cost the town close to $1,500 if we have to have another vote. And if the school department wants to ensure the fact that we don't have another vote, all they've got to do is cut the budget enough so that they know it'll pass. And right now, they're gambling. As far as the additional work for the town clerk is concerned, she could hire 2 or even 3 more people to help her with that project, and the cost would be far less than the $1,500.
Any further question or comment?
Tracey Scully. If the concern is about saving money, I would just like some justification as to how the Selectmen and the Warrant and Finance Committee can approve a 33% increase for Selectmen and people who work in the town office.
That hasn't happened, Mrs. Scully.
Didn't the Warrant and Finance Committee say that that was going to be on the warrant? Isn't that what the town's going to be voting for?
Not a 33%.
What is the
35.
increase for the Selectmen to bring them up to the level they're supposed to be at or where they used to be at, and to bring the town clerk up to where she used to be at? What is that increase?
I can't remember the percentages for the help. Do you guys? Off the top of my head.
The help is not 33, it's more like 3 to 5, depending on the staff person.
But the Selectmen and the Warrant and Finance Committee can justify that, yet ask the teachers to take a 3% cut. I'd just like a little understanding of how trying to save money, yet you want more money. I don't get where the equality is. Can someone help me out here? Warrant and Finance Committee, Selectmen?
Well, the selectmen haven't approved any of the warrants yet. And there's...
Warrant and Finance isn't through with their project.
Right. So none of that is final yet.
The Warrant and Finance Committee did recommend the budget that was put forward for the municipal government. The Selectmen have not yet made our recommendations. We'll be doing that next week. And perhaps your question could be better answered then when we have official recommendations on the books.
Okay, so the school budget...
It's clear the Warrant and Finance has not made a recommendation as of now, period.
Monday night's meeting, the Warrant and Finance Committee voted 5-1 to recommend to approve the article pertaining to municipal government.
It isn't over with, is it?
But
We
just the
have a
article
workshop
pertaining to
meeting
her,
tomorrow night, and anything that we have done prior is still subject to change. Nothing is written in stone.
that is fine, Mr. Hodgson. My understanding from Monday night's meeting was that there were certain articles that you voted to postpone to your workshop. There are other articles that you did make your official recommendations on.
And there's nothing to say that those articles cannot be brought back for more discussion as long as it's brought back by someone who voted for it in the affirmative.
Okay. So we will have finished voting for both the Warrant and Finance Committee and the Select Board by next Thursday?
So the children of Acton are going to have a negative increase, and the town's going to have approximately probably $286,000 increase. Is that correct?
We will not know until next week.
Okay, thank you.
Andy Brazier, and my question would be directed to the 4 Warrant and Finance Committee members that did not show up at the public school meeting. Is this going to create any type of confusion by combining the meetings as far as how you're going to attend? Because it seems to me that with the time, with the hours of research that you did on the school budget, it seemed awfully odd to me that only 2 Warrant and Finance Committee members attended the public meeting. If you'd like to respond to why there were not, the committee was not better represented, that would be great. And do you intend on seeing this process through and representing the Warrant and Finance Committee as it should be represented at the school public meetings?
Okay, 1 second. When is your next meeting?
Tuesday night.
Okay, Tuesday night's the time to go address the Warrant and Finance on that, please, okay? Because we're trying to stay on, try to stay on subject.
Very
Tuesday
good.
night, 7 o'clock is the start time for the Warrant and Finance Committee meeting. It will be here at the Town Hall.
All right. Any further?
We need to vote on a date.
Okay. So the date that we're voting on will be the date for the referendum vote for the school, right? Okay.
Are we allowing the school board to choose their own town meeting date based on the date that we put forward for the referendum, or are we also going to vote on a town meeting date for the school board, for the school budget?
They can probably do whatever they want on that because it's got to be separate anyway.
But I mean, we have to set the date, but whatever date they would request
As long as it's within the
for
time,
that,
it's within
within
the
the
timeline.
30 days, 30-day time period.
Okay,
You know.
I'll entertain a motion. Okay, we're gonna cut the discussion up here. We're gonna do a motion right now, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we set the referendum vote for June 8th.
I would rather not.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? It is June 8th. Okay, going on to the reevaluation.
We want to do the town meeting,
Wait a minute, town meeting.
what the school committee wants to do with the town meeting, if they want it the week before, or
Well, they can do that after one before.
Why don't we settle that now so we can
Yeah,
get
let's
closer
just
to
settle
the
it
vote?
now.
Judy, would you be, with it being set at June 8th, does the school board have a preference as to when the town meeting? Mr. Hadley?
I'd like to ask Mr. Hadley to address that because it's very clearly defined in the consolidation law that we're going by, what the time frame is for that. So I'd ask Mr. Hadley if he would please address that.
Yes.
The law states that once the town meeting, the legislative body, has validated the budget numbers, within 10 days, you must have a referendum ballot.
We are reading 30 days.
What's that?
We are reading 30 days in the law.
Not in school budget validation.
Can we have that? We have that right here. This was immediate changes to the school budget validation referendum process. which allows more flexibility in scheduling school budget validation votes. And they've changed it from 14 days after the open meeting vote or council vote to within 30 days.
And what is the date on that?
This is the newest, it's in this month, April 2010. So we just, we
Not
got...
familiar with that.
Yeah, we just, this is what we went by as well. Okay, but we checked with MMA on that, and this is what they gave us, so.
Okay.
So do you want it to be, if June 8th is a Tuesday, that would make June 1st a Tuesday as well? Do you want to have the town meeting on a Tuesday again, or do you want to
At the
hold
town
it on-
meeting, there's no cost involved?
There's a minimal cost to hold...
Because there are ballots.
Right, and there are also ballot clerks that will need to be in attendance, but it is a very minimal cost. Do you want to have that on the 1st, or do you wish to have it in May? When would you like to have it?
We'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
What did he say?
Hey, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, I'm going on to number 4, discussion about the town reevaluation. We have a kind of an emergency situation that has arisen with the program that we use. We're still in the middle of using 2 programs. One of them is called Brightside and the other one is Trio. And unfortunately, the Brightside program, the individual that created this program has passed away, unfortunately. And the whole company pretty much stopped being in existence, and there is no more service and no more support for this program at all. So we're still in the middle of this program in Trio, and right now this program is kind of disintegrating before our eyes. It's not working correctly. It's causing printouts to have the wrong names, the wrong amounts, and so forth. So we have a situation where, and we met with our assessor again, that we must do a full reevaluation in order to get the proper numbers into Trio. If this Brightside program does crash, we're in trouble. The whole town just stops. We can't print out tax bills, we can't do anything. So it's a situation that we did not want to happen. And unfortunately, the only way to solve it is to have a reevaluation. So,
We'll be talking more in depth with the Warrant Finance Committee Tuesday night about this.
yes. Any comment on that yet?
Would you rather? My only comment would be that it is, our assessing assistant is pulling her hair out with the program. The town clerk is concerned as far as tax billing is concerned. A reval does, in my opinion, at this point, need to get moving forward. We will not be, however, stranded. We have a couple of options before us as far as getting us through billing should the system completely crash before we get there. We have spoken to Trio. Trio is the software system that we use for all of the things here at the town hall, and a lot of other municipalities in the state use it as well, including Alfred. And one of the options that we have to carry us through until the reval is passed through, and even once if it passes in June at town meeting, it still is going to take many months before any of the figures are actually gathered and new calculating tables have been created to be used in Trio. So we still have to get through another billing cycle with a very good possibility that Brightside, our current program, will have completely given up. So one of the suggestions from the Trio support people was that we borrow the calculating tables from Alfred. Alfred is similar to us in many ways. They use the Trio program. And if we were to borrow their calculating tables, and what that means is that within the software, there are tables that the assessor creates that say, so you go into a new house is built, and let's say it's a 2,000 square foot house on a 2-acre lot. It has 2 bathrooms, 1 fireplace, hardwood floors. The tables that the assessor creates in the software program, the assessor puts all of that information in, and the tables say, well, we assess 2 acres at $20,000, and we assess each bedroom at this many dollars. And it spits out the assessment for the house. And it does, those tables are important because the whole basis of property taxation is that it's equal and that it's fair, that everyone's being assessed at the same rate for each thing. So if we borrowed Alfred's tables and had them put into Trio here in Acton, we could get ourselves through billing system. So I'm not panicked. Even though Brightside is collapsing around us, it is corrupting to the point where it is becoming unusable. We do have some options to carry us through. But a reval getting that voted in June so that we can start that process so that for next year, for 2011's billing period, we will be well en route to getting that done. But this year, it is going to be sticky, it's going to be difficult, and one of the things that I want to just get out there now is that if the program fails completely and we do end up needing to borrow tables from Alfred, everyone's tax bills are going to look a little different this year than they did last year. But the thing to remember is that everyone's bill is going to look different, and they're all going to look different at the same, in the same percentage up or down. So taxation remains equal and fair, it just will maybe look different. So as long as we start getting that message out there now as part of this conversation, I think that is important.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just also say to everyone here, and I know this isn't town meeting, but I do ask your support for the revaluation. I know it's been before the voters before, it's been voted down, but it's desperately needed because our system is in trouble, big trouble. And Nancy and Jim, those of you who are former selectmen, you know what we're talking about. And Larissa mentioned put in the Alfred tables, which we can do if we have to do this, but Alfred is not Acton. Acton is unique, and I think that the townspeople would still be very unhappy to be assessed and with Alfred's town tables instead of our own. So I really encourage everyone here to please support this revaluation this time so we can get it through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One of the other ideas we have too is to finance this over a 5-year period so it won't hit us all at once in one lump sum. It's a bad time for that. But we have like a 2.47% interest rate from Sanford Institute, so it's a pretty good interest rate, and we'd be paying $55,000 a year instead of the whole $260 at once. So that's another option on the table too that we need to discuss. Okay. All right. Number 5, library floor proposal. You have that.
A couple of weeks ago, or I guess about a month ago, Mary Waterhouse came in with an estimate from Pat Stevens to fix the library floor. Anyone that goes and uses the library, which I encourage all of you to do, they're open this evening. But the floor, it waves. And if you walk across it too quickly, the books fall off the shelves. And it's in bad shape. And it was not actually designed to be a library. Apparently a library needs to have floors that can withstand 150 pounds per square foot of live load. These are words that I'm being given. I don't actually know what I'm talking about as far as structural engineering is concerned. But the floor was not designed for that, and it needs to be fixed to accommodate that. So Pat Stevens came in with a very, a estimate that was great, but the discussion was that we should have a structural engineer be part of this process. So I called in Tom Gore, because he is our local structural engineer, and he said, actually, what I would recommend that you do is that you have a request for proposals put out for your contractors. And I'm just going to read to you what he emailed me over. Key things to get into a request for proposal are floor capacity to be or exceed 150 pounds per square foot live load. Also, make the acceptance of a proposal subject to approval or modification by a main licensed structural engineer. So his suggestion is that we, instead of going out to bid, because the project will be over $4,000 to do, instead of going out to bid, that we put out the request for proposal, we get different contractors' ideas about how they would fix the problem with the specs that we give them. That those proposals come back in, we take a look at them as a board, and we see which ones we think are best suited to us, and then we meet with a structural engineer who will go over each proposal and tell us which ones the structural engineer thinks will most work, and choose a contractor with the help of the structural engineer to make sure that the project is done properly. Mary Waterhouse is working on grants as well to try to fund part of this project. As a library, as a private organization, they might be able to make that work so the repair would not come entirely at the tax burden of the citizenry. And I just wanted to toss it on the agenda tonight because if we're going to do this, I'd like to get it going as quickly as possible, because if we need to, in conjunction with Mary's grants, also put forward a request for money to the town, we have until, I believe, 10 days prior to town meeting to get that on the warrant. but I'd like to get it on as soon as possible. So if we're going to put out a request for proposal, I wanted us to decide on that tonight so that I could get that written up and we could send it out next week.
I don't see any reason why not to start the process. Can we talked about this before, are we gonna put some money forward to the town? Because even if she does get a grant, we can that money will just not be used if it's raised and back in the general fund, but it's important to get this done because, like you said, books are falling off the shelves.
Right.
Do we put a warrant article in this warrant? What'd you say, for $4,000?
No, if it's over 4,000, we have to go through either out to bid or through request for proposal by our own policy.
Can we get this done quick enough to get some idea of how much it's going to be so we can maybe put it forward?
I think we can.
So we don't have to wait.
I think if we put out the request for proposal next week and we have it in the papers and we have a 2-week window on it, that we'd have the proposal request back to us by the middle of May. If we see the range of figures that they're coming in at and say that they average out at $25,000 apiece, then we would be able to say, okay, we can put before the voters, are they willing to spend $25,000 on repairing this building that's part of the town hall as well as the library, and have it time to get it on the warrant.
Okay, so let's get
What's it gonna cost for the engineering?
Mr. Hodgson asks what it would cost for the engineering. Tom thought that the engineer probably would be in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, I think is what he said, is what the engineer would end up costing.
Now you're talking $28,000.
Yes.
It's hard to say yet, but let's try to get some figures together and try to get the process going so maybe we can do this as quick as possible.
Is everyone okay with me writing up the request for proposal,
Sure.
emailing it to all of us, and then giving it to Lorraine to send in?
Sure.
Great.
Okay. All right, number 6 is going to be the comp plan account balance.
Mr. Cashin asked the other night, I don't remember if it was the Warrant Finance Committee or the comp meeting, maybe it was in the hallway, I don't remember, but there's a certain amount of money that's for 4,000 something left over in the comprehensive information account, and he wanted that to be carried forward again in case they need it for copies and things like that. Feel free to come up and talk.
I've got the figure for you too, Tom, for tonight. It's $4,537 as of today, and I think it's also to cover secretarial costs for their committee to continue their meetings through till the vote in November.
Thank you for considering this proposal tonight. When I came before you folks a couple of weeks ago, the 3 points I was asking you to give fair consideration to were extending the appointments for the committee until November 2010 because you have assigned us a task, as we understand it, to appear on a weekly basis before the Selectmen's meeting and explain a certain segment of the zoning ordinance pertaining primarily to shoreline zoning changes that we have folded in currently in the existing draft dated 4/5/10 that is in publication now. We've worked for about a year and a half folding in the state requirements into our zoning pertaining to largely shoreline zoning. This is not so much, Comp Plan Committee took this work on. It's kind of a misnomer to call it Comp Plan, comprehensive planning, so to speak. The Comp Plan itself is done and has been adopted. So this is primarily shoreline zoning. So, and the 3 points that I would ask you before to consider was to extend the appointment of the committee. Number 1, carry forward the unexpended balance of the committee in order to enable us to do our job. Primarily that would cover copying expenses and consultation time with Southern Maine Regional Planning and a small amount of secretarial work.
And then the third point was to enable us to share correspondence with us that comes into your office, and I guess that this is a matter of discussion still, pertaining to questions and comments concerning the comp plan and the shoreline zoning issues, so that we may address those in a timely manner, in the public forum. That was it in a nutshell. Okay. Thank you for considering.
Thank you.
Roger Roy, I believe that on Monday night, the Warrant Finance Committee, this particular article from the comp plan is on our workshop schedule for Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So I think whatever vote should be held back till we can meet on this Tuesday night.
Sounds fair enough. We'll wait and see what their recommendation is and go from there.
And we'll make a final choice on Thursday night next week.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Number 7, special road projects. You speak on that.
Larissa talked to Mr. Mooney. I was
I-
hoping Mr. Mooney would be here tonight.
He did express that he was not sure if he'd be able to make
Yeah.
it, that his schedule was not sure. I did. I spoke to Mr. Mooney. It has been, as we've been going through this process with budgets this year, especially in the last couple of weeks, the proposed special project for District 1 on Goose Pond Road is not seeming to be a popular choice. And I spoke to Mr. Mooney and asked if he thought that it would be okay to remove it from the warrant. Is that something he was interested in doing? And that was entirely his choice, if he wanted to leave it on the warrant and bring it before the people. And he said that no, he was actually fine with it coming off the warrant, that he hadn't come into budget season planning on putting forward a special project, that he had done so at the request of our board, which is true. We did request to both road commissioners that if they saw something that could be paved, let's put it as a separate warrant article, and that he was fine with having that removed and to have Lorraine start that process. I think it's on the agenda tonight to just kind of make it a public announcement, and I think that that was the hope of Mr. Mooney being here as well, so that it does not look like we are removing his article for him, that this is something that it is his choice, and certainly if he did not wish to have it removed, it would not be removed. But as he is wanting it to be removed, it will be removed from the warrant, and so it will not be put forward to town meeting.
And it was also a recommendation, Larissa, of the road committee.
Yep.
As Dave Winchell Sr., I don't know how many people know, I'm running for road commissioner on the north end. I'd like to get back in there. One big problem this town has had lately is hot top. We had a change in the article on the maintain asphalt for years. Then all of a sudden, road construction, reconstruction was put into place with resurfacing. So that's what was done. So we've been losing resurfacing. And the people don't know it. It's something that sneaks up on you. These roads are just falling apart. The amount of salt that's getting into these cracks are just destroying our roads. And we're going to look like, so I don't want to mention any names and towns and whatnot, but some of these towns are just falling apart because of the resurfacing. I've got a few ideas of my own, but as far as all I want to do is get some resurface money in here. If you take that special project money, put it in resurfacing for me, it ain't going to go in my pocket, it's going to go on the road. And that's what, I've got a few different locations to go, and I got a couple things up my sleeve that I think is going to work really good. But I just will not bring it up right now. But I would like to see if we could get a little response on that and at least put some money, that $102,000 that was, just a little patch-up work on that would have been a lot easier, a lot cheaper, but there's a lot of other things that money can be used for and needs in this town.
Thank you. Okay. Any other?
The other thing is the capital improvement road account. The other night, Mr. Winchell suggested to the Warrant Finance Committee that he didn't feel that this was the appropriate year to start that account.
Mr. Winchell Jr., just to be clear.
Yes, the road commissioner. He didn't feel that this was an appropriate year to start that account. The Warrant Finance Committee had concerns with it. So that might be something else that we might be looking at, especially in consideration of the, if we do the reval, with a financial impact to the town with that. And they also mentioned, where we're talking about special accounts, talking to Mr. Walsh, hopefully Tuesday night, and taking another look at the capital and improvement account for the fire department also, and see where that ends up.
I believe the two articles come on the workshop.
Tuesday night. Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Number 8, we have tax write-off balances. You have that form? I don't have it.
No, I don't, there's any form.
Well, it's a
Is
big-
Jennifer here that you can ask her to come in?
I'll go get her.
She ends up with balances that are so small that it costs more for us to send a registered letter and put liens on than it's worth. And so it has been policy that you decide a certain number and you will write off everything underneath that number. I don't know what she's got for a list.
We had the list, but I don't know what happened.
I haven't seen the list.
I think I put it on your desk. Probably got lost in there. Yes.
We don't have the list for the
She
tax.
did. She did give it to me.
Oh, you gave it to me.
And
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Nobody's seen it except Dennis.
the point,
What have we got for amounts on there, Jennifer, and where do you recommend that we cut off?
In the past, the selectmen have written off anything less than $5.
Anything
Most
less
of
than
them are
$5?
minimal, but it's certainly the board's choice.
So if we make a motion to just anything under $5, that'll be acceptable tonight? And that'll
Correct.
cover everything you have on that list?
That was the, right, probably 13
Okay.
pages.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Ruth.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Make a motion that we agree to waive any tax balances $5 or less.
I'll second that.
In favor? Done. Okay, now we have Cancer Care Center Lunch and Learn.
That was a call I got today. The Cancer Care Center would like to come to our office and serve us lunch and do a talk. This is what it's lunch and learn about how to deal with if you find you have cancer or if some of your close friends or relatives have cancer. It's an awareness program that they would like to come and do that. So I just wanted to, I didn't want to set a date with them. I wanted to make sure the selectmen agreed to this.
And when Lorraine told me about it, I was thinking that it might be, if it would be okay with everyone, we could have that on May 26th, which is when we have a luncheon scheduled with the Acton Owls anyway, so it's a luncheon time that's set up in the community as it is. We could open it up to everyone of every age group to come, and it's a Wednesday, it might work out well.
So I'm going to call them tomorrow and see whether or not, because they were talking about coming into town just for our group, you know, the people that work in the office. That was what their program was, but if they're willing to open it up, this would be good too, to have for the Owls.
Well, we could also, if they were willing to come and be the speakers, I'm sure that we could, through the Owls, find someone who would be willing to make the luncheon. So it wasn't that they would be burdened with the extra cost, but just coming and presenting it to 7 of us is maybe not as effective as presenting it to 37 of us.
So if you have no objections, I'll set a date with them to come and meet with us, and if they'll come and do the Owls too, that'll be fine, or else we'll do it all in one thing.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Okay, number 10, we have a liquor license renewal for KB Restaurants, which is the Shed, and we have done all of the incident reports. There are absolutely no incidents from the state police or the sheriff. so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the liquor license to the shed.
I will second that.
All in favor?
And also, just to be clear, why there is no public hearing, they have held their liquor license for more than 5 years without, I want to say without criminal incident.
7 years.
7 years, which is why they do not need to have a public hearing for their license.
Motion passes. I will entertain an additional motion.
Oh, no, hold on.
We have more? Sorry, announcements, I'm sorry.
Just couple of things coming up. Lions Club breakfast, of course, is on Saturday morning this week, as it is the first Saturday of the month.
And you also have to sign this, you know.
Also, the senior group in town that has formed, the Acton Owls, will be hosting stands for Older, Wiser, Liberated Seniors. They will be hosting a spaghetti supper here at the town hall on Saturday night from 4:30 till 6:30. It is, I hope, going to be fabulous. It is the first spaghetti supper that someone has allowed me to try to run, so it's going to be exciting, I'm sure. Claire Bragg is baking bread, and anyone who's had Claire's baked goods knows that that's worth coming for on its own. And there will be real Italian spaghetti sauce brought to us by a true Italian, and there will be salad and desserts, and it will be raising money to continue on the luncheons that we have now had 3 of for seniors in town, and we are trying to keep those luncheons either free or by voluntary donation so that anyone can come regardless of their financial position. So please do come and support this group from 4:30 to 6:30. On the same night is a theater performance at the elementary school to support the Julia Smith Scholarship Fund. Anyone who knew and loved Julia certainly would understand that that is a worthwhile cause. It is to benefit an Acton college student who is pursuing a degree in education. That is at 7 o'clock at the school. Tickets are being sold at the door, I believe. So you can do dinner and a show all right here in Acton, which is a rare event indeed, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. So please join us for those 2 upcoming events.
Did you sign your name there, Larissa?
I would like to apologize to the school committee, Mr. Hadley. Sometimes in the office things get a little hectic. People coming and going, and you forget sometimes when people come in and tell you something. And I had made the statement that the selectmen hadn't heard anything from the school department last week. And in fact, Jennifer Rue did come in and talk to us, speak to us last Thursday before the selectmen's meeting. And I had forgotten that conversation. And I emailed Mr. Hadley and the chair yesterday, extending my apologies for that statement. And I also said I'd do that tonight publicly, that they did notify the town clerk on the dates and information from the school department.
Okay.
And on that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, please, are you going to have any public forum?
No, not tonight.
Why? When will you be having it? I have some issues I'd like to address.
No, there's no public forum on the agenda tonight. Motion is on the table.
Second.
All in favor?
I think you're incorrect. That's the right of people who pay their